Hi movie lovers. Today we're recapping on this horror movie, The Sand 2015. I remember watching this movie for the first time and being blown away by the twist ending. What was your reaction? But before we jump into the action, I've got a question for you. What was the most jaw-dropping moment for you in The Sand 2015? Was it the unexpected twist, the epic showdown, or maybe a heartwarming scene? What was your favorite scene in The Sand 2015? Or, do you think Vance made the right choice by stepping into the sand to save the other girl? Before we dive in, I want to know, who do you think was the real hero of the movie? Comment below. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing your perspectives, and who knows, your comment might just spark a lively discussion. What if your biggest beach party turned into your worst nightmare, and the sand itself was out to kill you? In The Sand 2015, a group of hungover spring breakers wake up to find their friends missing, their phones locked away, and something alive beneath the ground that devours anything that touches it. No way out. No rescue in sight. And the only rule? Don't touch the sand. This isn't your typical monster flick. It's a slow, skin-crawling trap where survival depends on what you stand on, who you trust, and how long you can last without stepping foot on the ground. Stick around because by the end of this video you'll know exactly who makes it, how far people go to survive, and what's really hiding under that sand. And if you're a fan of wild horror setups, offbeat creature features, or just love watching people try to outsmart a literal death floor, then hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, would you survive a beach where standing still means death? Our disturbing story begins on a seemingly normal beach, which turns into a wild party spot at night. There's music blasting, people screaming, dancing, and making questionable choices that would surely drive any nearby neighbors insane. In the middle of all this chaos, the nerdy guy behind the camera introduces us to Kaylee. She's a laid-back girl, but there's something clearly bothering her. The cameraman is surprised she even showed up. He offers her a drink, but she politely declines. Then, the life of the party, Jonah, pulls up in his flashy car and immediately makes out with some girl. Seeing that pushes Kaylee to pick up a drink after all. Soon after, Mitch takes it upon himself to make everyone place their phones in a bag. No exceptions. When someone tries to film with their camera, they try to take it away, but the guy runs off too fast for them to catch. As the night wears on, the party gets rowdier. Gilbert, the heavy drinker of the group, downs some alcohol and finds a strange, gooey object on the sand with another guy. It looks completely alien, and, of course, like all curious idiots in movies, they try to set it on fire. Things almost escalate into a fight when someone calls Gilbert an idiot. Meanwhile, Mitch tries to have a quiet moment with Kaylee. Then someone keeps blasting dubstep while another guy is doing backflips like a maniac on energy drinks. There's more partying and kissing as the night rages on. Eventually, Gilbert falls asleep, and the others take the opportunity to draw on his face with a marker. Mitch notices and reminds everyone about the so-called Vegas rules. Whatever happens here stays here. By morning, most of the group is passed out, some in cars, some on the beach. Kaylee and Mitch are asleep in the lifeguard tower. Kaylee wakes up and calls out Mitch for following the same Vegas rules she seems to hate. Mitch tries to lighten the mood by asking if she wants to go surfing. She's not amused, she just wants to leave. Jonah wakes up next, getting a kiss from his girl. Kaylee suddenly notices something bizarre. A seagull gets pulled under the sand. She quickly realizes something's wrong and tries to warn the others. Vance offers to help, but despite everyone trying to stop him, he jumps out of the car and rushes to Kaylee, only to trip. And he doesn't get back up. The tension skyrockets immediately. He screams for help. Jonah wants to rescue him, but the others hold him back. He decides to start the car and drive over, but the engine won't turn over. Kaylee tells Mitch to grab something to pull Vance to safety. Mitch looks for a rope and a flotation device in the lifeguard shed. Ronnie tries to encourage Vance from afar. Mitch finally returns and throws the rope, but it's too late. Something under the sand grabs Vance and begins devouring his face. Ronnie screams in horror, still trying to urge him to move, but Vance disappears beneath the sand. Everyone is frozen, stunned by what they just witnessed. The sand literally ate him. It devoured him. A frantic debate follows. Mitch isn't sure what he saw. Jonah suggests it could be quicksand. Ronnie, on the other hand, goes full conspiracy theory, blaming chemicals, government experiments, just total paranoia. They need to do something. But their phones are locked in the car trunk thanks to the party rules. Mitch tries to calm everyone down, saying that as long as they avoid the sand, they'll be okay. Shanda agrees, and Mitch suggests that those still in the car should try to drive over, pick them up from the lifeguard shack, and call for help. Jonah tries starting the car, but the battery's dead. Now they have to wait and hope for help to arrive. But Kaylee, ever the brave one, decides to test something. She tells everyone to shut up for a second and points out that little tentacles pop out of the sand whenever something gets close to it. Just then Gilbert wakes up. He's stuck in a barrel and demands to be let out. They all shout at him to stay still. They explain that something in the sand already killed Marcia and Vance. Gilbert doesn't believe them. They beg him to stay calm, telling him that the tide will come in within 2 hours and hopefully carry him to safety. Gilbert finally agrees. Mitch and Kaylee go back to the lifeguard post. Jonah watches them, obviously jealous. Shanda tells him to let it go. Time passes slowly. Everyone sits quietly, unsure what to do. Kaylee asks Mitch why he lied to Gilbert about the tide. Mitch says he did it to give him hope. Kaylee drinks to that. Ronnie begins writing what seems to be a farewell letter to her mother in a small notebook. With nothing else to do, most people fall into silence or nap. Gilbert is stuck in place, his skin baking under the sun. Kaylee starts searching through the lifeguard post for anything useful. She then questions Mitch about what happened the night before. Mitch says she got upset seeing Jonah with Shanda. So the two of them walked, drank, and talked before collapsing at the lifeguard shack. Kaylee already knew that part. She meant what happened on the beach. How did something like this even show up? While talking, Kaylee finds some sunblock and shares it with the others to protect them from the burning sun. She again presses about the events of last night, and Jonah joins in, saying it might be worth trying to remember if anything unusual happened. Then Kaylee remembers. Most of the people at the party slept on the sand. That's when it hits them. Everyone else is gone. They've all been eaten. Ronnie and Kaylee break down in tears. Gilbert refuses to believe it. He thinks it's some kind of cruel joke. He starts shaking his barrel in frustration, but Jonah tries to calm him down and tosses him some sunscreen. Gilbert, visibly sunburned, thanks him and applies the lotion. It's the only relief he's had all day. Then Kaylee notices something odd on the beach, those large alien-looking shells. It's the same gooey object from last night. Gilbert confirms he and Vance saw it earlier. But Kaylee remembers it was closed last night. Now it's open. They start speculating, maybe a creature came out of it. Kaylee has an idea. She grabs some raw hot dogs from the shack and tosses one into the sand. The sand instantly consumes it. They test it again, throwing hot dogs at increasing distances, trying to figure out the creature's reach. Ronnie complains they might be wasting food. But Jonah says it's better to understand what they're dealing with. Mitch tries tossing one but accidentally throws it to a seagull. The bird lands in the sand and gets dragged under, shredded alive. Gilbert watches in horror, wishing he'd never come to this cursed beach. Mitch throws another hot dog in a different direction. It lands but nothing happens. Kaylee, Mitch, and Jonah cheer. It means there's a safe spot. Ronnie, however, isn't feeling it. She's losing all hope. She says no one will come. It's been too long. Too many people are missing. And there's no help in sight. What if every beach is like this? Jonah's had enough of sitting around doing nothing. Fueled by frustration, he gets up, grabs a surfboard from the car, and attempts to cross the sand. His friends all shout warnings, urging him not to risk it. But to everyone's surprise, he actually manages to stay upright. Gaining confidence, he grabs another board and crafts a makeshift bridge. Jonah continues making his way across the sand but slips. Luckily, he manages to grab onto a nearby picnic table. Kaylee notices something strange. The board he's using is slowly shifting on its own, like the sand is pulling it. She urges him to turn back, but it's already too late. Tentacles emerge from below, brushing against his legs. Jonah summons all his strength and hauls himself onto the table just in time. He claims he's fine, but it's clear he's been hurt. He collapses on top of the table, groaning in pain. His friends call out in panic. Ronnie suspects it's poison from whatever stung him. They don't know how to help him, but Shanda tries to comfort him, telling him he'll be okay, and somehow that seems to work. Jonah perks up enough to rummage through a nearby bag and pulls out a banana, which he drops into the sand to test it. He quickly retrieves it and waves it just above the sand. The tentacles don't react. Taking a huge risk, he jumps down to that exact spot. To everyone's shock, he's fine. It turns out that particular patch of sand used to be a fire pit. He stands proudly and takes a bite of his banana in celebration. But that victory is short-lived. The injury to his stomach begins to worsen. The tentacles must have some kind of acidic effect. Kaylee sees his pain and tells him to get back on the table. Jonah obeys, dragging himself back up. Once back on the table, he shares what he found in the bag, some drinks. He tosses them over to the others. Gilbert, still trapped, is thrilled. Jonah tries to pass one to Mitch too, but the pain hits hard and he nearly passes out again. Kaylee urges him to lie back and rest. There's not much more they can do for him. As Jonah writhes in pain, Shanda and Kaylee stand by helpless. Suddenly they notice the sand starting to shift and move the boards again. Kaylee notices the tentacles starting to grab at the tires of Jonah's car. The whole vehicle shakes. Now they're running out of time. Gilbert asks where the phones are. They remember they're locked in the trunk. Shanda tries to open the trunk using the car's interior controls, but nothing works. Ronnie then suggests trying to pull down the back seat to reach the trunk from inside. But those seats won't budge either. So Ronnie comes up with a bold plan. She's going to stand on the bumper, open the trunk from the outside using the keys and hope for the best. Shanda helps her prepare. Just in case something goes wrong, Ronnie writes a farewell letter to her mom and makes Shanda promise to deliver it if she doesn't survive. Ronnie climbs onto the bumper. For now she's stable. Kaylee checks in on the others. Gilbert is still in agony from baking inside the barrel, and Jonah's getting worse by the minute. Ronnie manages to insert the key, but as she lifts the trunk, Shanda slips, and the trunk comes crashing down on Ronnie's fingers. They try again. Since Ronnie's standing at an awkward angle, the trunk keeps hitting her legs, making it impossible to get it open properly. Shanda then suggests using a towel to help support Ronnie, but oddly no one thinks to use the towel to open the trunk itself. They try again. Ronnie grips the rescue hook this time, but still can't get the trunk fully open. Finally, Ronnie lets go of Shanda and focuses solely on unlocking the trunk. Just as she does, a car suddenly pulls up nearby, honking its horn. It's Beach Patrol. They all shout at the officer, warning him not to get out of his car because the sand is alive and eating people. But the cop doesn't buy it. He assumes they're just a bunch of crazy teenagers on something. Kaylee tries to explain, but he steps out anyway, and nothing happens. Turns out, the creature doesn't react to people wearing shoes. His boots protect him. He walks over to Jonah and sees the grotesque wound on his stomach, filled with green pus. Then he approaches Gilbert, joking about the crude artwork the others drew on his face. Gilbert begs to be freed, but he's stuck tight. The cop says they might need a forklift to get him out. Next, he goes to check on Ronnie, whose fingers are still trapped under the trunk. Shanda demands to know why he's just standing there and not helping. The cop seems confused by their lack of action, saying that in 23 years of Beach Patrol, this is by far the weirdest day he's ever had. Kaylee throws some insults his way, but she and Mitch also notice something important. The cop's boots are totally unaffected by the sand. They try to explain that 2 of their friends have already been killed by this thing. But the cop wants proof. He wants to see the bodies. They explain the sand swallowed them whole. Of course, with no evidence and bizarre claims, the officer grows more suspicious. He sarcastically tells them he rode in on a unicorn. Oddly enough, no one thinks to just point out the tiny tentacles creeping up his boots. Fed up, the officer tells them he's taking them all in. Mitch and Kaylee try to explain again, but he still doesn't believe them and reaches for his pepper spray to use as intimidation. Unfortunately, he drops his keys into the sand. He bends down to pick them up, and that's all it takes. The creature seizes the opportunity and latches onto his arm. For some reason, despite being strong enough to rattle a car, the creature can't pull the officer down immediately. Maybe it's the boots. Kaylee yells at him to use the pepper spray. He struggles, then finally manages to spray the tentacles. But it comes at a terrible cost. The creature rips off his arm in response. Everyone watches in horror. The CGI might look like it came from a PlayStation 2 game, but the shock is real. Bleeding out, the officer pleads for help. Kaylee says nothing. She calmly walks up, ignores him, and grabs the pepper spray while he's being dragged away into the sand and devoured. Now they're back to square one. But Mitch gets an idea. He wants to try using flip-flops and towels to move across the sand, and he coats his feet with pepper spray for added safety. Kaylee warns him not to go through with it, but Mitch is determined. Shanda throws him a towel for balance, but he misses it and falls. Instantly, the creature seizes him. He screams in pain, begging for help. But nothing can be done. The sand pulls him under, dragging his body into the depths while the rest of the group watches helplessly. Kaylee frees Ronnie's fingers, then helps Shanda reach the picnic table where Jonah is injured. Gilbert cuts his stomach on the edge of the trash barrel. The scent of blood from both Ronnie and Gilbert's injuries attracts the creature, and Ronnie is pulled under the sand. Shanda uses Mitch's idea to run across the sand to the truck with pepper-sprayed towels on her feet. The creature, having grown much larger tentacles, pulls Gilbert beneath the sand and knocks Shanda unconscious. At night, Shanda finds a self-inflatable raft in the truck, which she, Kaylee, and Jonah use to reach the patrolman's car. The ground erupts and a huge glowing tentacle assaults Kaylee. She finds 2 gas cans on the rear rack and uses them to set one of the tentacles ablaze. The trio lock themselves in the car. Once the tentacles stop, Kaylee and Chanda discover that Jonah has died from his injuries, and begin to cry over the loss of their friends. The next morning, a man finds the girls in the car, the creature having disappeared. They walk across the sand together, traumatized as the creature, revealed to be an enormous jellyfish. If this one gave you chills, wait till you see what's coming next. Tap subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a second. Big thanks for watching.